Okay.
Kanda, are we live? Yes, we're live. Hello, everyone. Good evening and good morning for everybody who's going to be logging in and watching. My name is Hassan and I represent Success Factor. Today, we have a very, very important person with us. He is one of Success Factor's alumni. His name is Maqsood Ali Mughal. Maksud went to Arkansas State University for his postgraduate studies, and later he finished his PhD from the same school, and then he went on to pursuing his career from on there as a assistant professor, and then I let Ali then give us a very good introduction about himself. And then Ali is also Maksud. Do you want me to refer you as Maksud or Ali? Because I know you've got two first names.
Yeah, right. So I usually go by Maksud, in a professional environment, but everybody in my family they call me Ali. So
So welcome,
whichever way.
Maksud.
Yeah.
Welcome to this online live cup shop. We have been doing these sessions for about a whole month now during the COVID times, and we usually do these to learn from you guys who've been through the journey, who've taken the task at hand, and just sort of get just talk about things as a learning experience for success factor future students, for other students out there. So over to you, Maksud, a little introduction, and then I can throw some curveballs at you.
Sure. Thanks again, Hassan, for having me. I really feel honored. It's been a long relationship that I have had with Success Factor. And good thing about it is every time I'm in trouble, I'm always looking for suggestion. Even now, sometimes, I refer students, who might have dreams going for higher education. So um, it's been wonderful being related with Success Factor. So this journey of mine actually started back in 2008 when I was final year engineering student. So I was going for electronic engineering at Sir Syed, and I wanted to go to US for higher education, and primarily one of the reasons was I had watching those Hollywood movies, and you know I had this dream like I want to go there and develop something for myself and just change my life. So 2008, I met Sana, went to Success Factor. Actually, this is an interesting story. Who referred me to Success Factor? In 2008, I think the office used to be in Regent Plaza.
Yeah, by way
Uh,
back.
there, there was a yeah, there was a Citibank there. My cousin used to work in Citibank in the mezzanine floor. They had a Citibank, so he told me like, hey, they do exhibitions and like they take part, they do workshops and things like that. You might want to come over. So I actually went over there, and that's when I met Mohsin sir and Miss Sana. And then we
On the
same
early,
day we discussed like what do you
way early when,
yeah
however, way early years.
yeah yeah same day we discussed like what I want to do, what programs I'm interested in, and then they asked me like, hey, you should get ready for your IELTS and you should get ready for your GRE because that was the requirement, two of the basic requirements for the program I was going to apply to. And then I made my goals. Okay, in 4 months I need to finish and gather all the documents that required. And then April 1st, that's when we got the acceptance from the schools. We applied in January, so it took like 4 months. We applied at three different schools, including University of Dalhousie, Nova Scotia, Montana State University, and Arkansas State University.
Right.
We got acceptance from all three schools. I chose Arkansas State University, and one of the reason I chose Arkansas State University because I knew a lot of people who were living in close by states in Texas and Florida, so it was close. Weather was very friendly there compared to Nova Scotia and Montana. And then also I got into a program which I was looking forward to. In those days, 2008, Masters of Engineering Management, that's the program I went for, was not offered by many schools. There were only like 8 schools
Wow.
that were offering that degree in
So you
2008.
really had an
Now,
idea where you wanted to sort of, get your skill sets going, yeah?
correct. And again, what happened when I was doing my engineering, the education culture we have in schools, we had like 60 students in class when I was doing my engineering. So a group of like 10 students working on one single small bench on a lab. So we never knew what's going on, right? So I was not a very technical guy when I was doing my engineering. So I wanted to get away from the technical part of the engineering management. So I could be both technical a little, but also want to be on the management side because that is something which I always like. But then, yeah, so 2009 went in the fall of 2009, finished my master's in 1 year. And then the following year, I got accepted for a PhD program in the same school. So
Well,
we were
let
working
me
on,
stop you here for a second. I just wanted to, out of curiosity, Maksud, learn that
mhm.
why did you want to keep on sort of renewing your education career for that matter? Did you feel that that was need of the of your was it a necessary to pursue your future ambition? Um, what made you sort of pursue a PhD degree after that?
Yeah, so there's a story about it. I received an email. I remember I was visiting my chacha in Florida, and I received an email, and that email was like really brief and short from my advisor saying, "I have $5 million thing. Would you like to do PhD for me? I can support you for next 5 years." That was it. I was like, okay, but what do I need to do? So, believe it or not, I didn't even submit my application. He filled it for me. So, like, he was so wanting to have me on board. And primary reason for that was like I had established such good relationships
Hmm.
with him throughout my stay at Arkansas State University. In fact, even before I arrived, and we were discussing this earlier, I was in touch with him. So he knew that there's some guy from Pakistan, he's coming in and he's going to be working for me. And that,
So, wait, did I
helped
catch that
me.
right, Maksud? You said that when you were going through your application process, you were already
Mhm.
in touch with the faculty.
Yes, I still remember, like, so Bushra was the one who was handling my case.
Yeah, yeah, I remember Bushra
Bushra,
very clearly. She's
yeah. So I asked Bushra, like, hey, Bushra, I'm a little short on money. My father told me, like, I'm gonna support you for 2 semesters, rest
yeah.
is on you. So I was looking for opportunities where I could support myself and pay for my tuition. So she told me that, maybe you want to get in touch with some of the folks over there, start applying for jobs online and things like that. So I started doing that. And luckily, I got a TA-ship just when I arrived. There was one student who graduated that year. So it
Oh,
was a good timing. It was a good timing. He was living out, he was leaving, I was coming in. So it worked out really well for me. But had I not applied or sent him
you
an
got lucky.
email,
When opportunity meets preparation, right?
correct. So that guidance from Bushra, from Success Factor was extremely important for me, getting my foot, into the American working system also because it helped me greatly in a way that, the work culture in Pakistan is a little different than how it is, in
Most
America.
definitely.
So I was like day one, I was working with Americans. And there's a great deal of learning curve. You are, working with them. You learn some ethics and many other things among these two. Yeah. So
Hmm.
that helped me greatly. 2010 I graduated. 2010 I graduated. I came back to Pakistan. I got married, went back again, started my PhD 2011. It took me almost 5 years to finish my PhD. So I graduated in fall of 2015.
Okay.
Yeah. And then same school, yeah, same school hired me as a faculty. So
No way.
it was
You
like a
had
chain.
back to
Yeah,
back
it
journey.
was a chain.
Yeah, yeah, that's nice.
But
That's amazing.
yeah, Alhamdulillah, yeah. Yeah, Alhamdulillah. I didn't have any delay from the time I graduated from my engineering school in Pakistan to getting my PhD. It was like back on and on and on. So they hired me as an adjunct faculty. And in fact, they were again in these 5 6 years that I spent with them, they knew me. My boss told me like, hey, you can work for as long you want until you find another job. So I had this sense of security, like that was cool. So I worked there for one
Peace
year,
of
and
mind,
then
security, security,
goal
so
was
that
to,
gather
yeah.
your ideas and put them in motion. Yeah.
Right. So the goal was to get into industry and start working.
Right.
Getting a job in industry was extremely hard because when you do PhD, you're overqualified. And then also the visa status I was on, again, getting onto
Right.
OPD, they want to
Getting it.
hire someone who is a citizen or have the
Right.
green card or things like that. I still
Mhm.
remember I wrote a blog and I uploaded on LinkedIn. I nearly applied at 700 jobs, all
Wow.
industry. Believe it or not, like since like from morning till night before I would go to sleep, I was just doing like upload application, click submit, upload application, click submit, things like that.
No, but that see, but again, like that, the hard work, you have to put in the hard work to get anywhere, right?
Absolutely,
Be it to land a
absolutely.
great job or be it to pursue any of your ambitions. So hard work. I mean, guys, this is very important. That's
Yeah,
700. Most people would give up after applying to 15 to 20 places, and then they would curse the system and themselves or the education and just the whole, and be like, so your own success is obviously in your own hands for the most part. Somebody who's guiding you can only show you the way, but traveling that path is ultimately the responsibility of the individual themselves.
yeah. So while I was applying, I was also getting response from these folks, and they would, you go through multiple round of interviews, and finally they would say, we are looking for someone who can work for us for a long term without us having to sponsor them. So I kind
Right.
of knew like, oh, this is not going to work out. So at the same time, then I was also applying in academics too. The academics, one of the issue that I had, I was struggling with, they all are PhDs, so it's very competitive, right?
Yeah.
So if you apply for any faculty position, everyone has good credentials, and so you're applying, competing with someone who is of same caliber as you are. So that was really tough. But I got my first breakthrough, and it was a small school with 6,000 students. This was Fitchburg State University,
Okay.
Massachusetts. Yeah, so it's actually close to New Hampshire, at the border of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So I
Right.
got there. I worked for 1 year. They told me that they were going to sponsor me and stuff like that. But by then, I had already applied for green card. And
Oh,
again, this is under NIW. This category is national interest waiver. So it's only for scholars and researchers. Okay.
okay.
So yeah. So this category, like if you have like X amount of citations or paper published in journal articles
You're
and
eligible to
you have a
apply
job.
for a
Yeah.
permanent sort of a
Yeah.
residency, giving
Correct.
back to the community.
Correct, absolutely. And then your research, if it's in the interest of United States, because I was doing research on solar panels, which is renewable energy, and they do a lot of focus on that. So I was, and then for Pakistanis, it's a lot more easier to get that because unlike China and India, they have a lot of applicants, so they have quota. Um,
Mm.
our applications are current, so I got mine in about 1 year. So my new employer never had to file or
Oh,
sponsor me.
you're already set for
Yeah.
that.
Correct. And then my parents were here. They were here for the Eid. There was once, usually, in academia, summers are pretty slow.
Yeah.
And the contracts are 9 month based. Summer, I can literally go to Pakistan, spend 3 months there, and then come back.
Yeah.
So I was looking for any adjunct position that I can teach during the summer. So there's a school, it's called Worcester Polytechnic Institute. That's where I went. They had this adjunct position. I remember my father was with me for the Eid here, and then we were going back home after the Eid prayers, and I received a call, And he was
Mhm.
like, we are actually changing this adjunct position into a full-time position. Are you still interested? I said, why not? So yeah. So this school, WPI, is actually the
Advice.
first, yeah, in the States who offered robotics program.
Okay.
Okay. So I could not believe at the first, like I received a call from them. But then again, the timing was such that they had two or three people retiring and then two or people like leaving. So they were filling up these positions with adjunct faculties and visiting professors. Luckily, they changed mine to a full-time position, and it's been almost 2.5 years. It's a great school with very, very high reputation. They are considered among the elite schools in US. So I'm really happy to be a part of it. But again, this whole journey helped me, get where I am right now. It was one shot and boom, and you were there.
I think this is a very insightful, sort of semi-brief um, introduction, sort of a thing. I have a few specifics, if you don't mind me asking a few
Yeah,
specifics
sure,
here.
go Hassan.
So, your experience with uh, obviously the application process and the selection of the university and eventually finding your niche is one of the tasks. But today I want to talk a little bit more about um, when you are on when you get the guidance and when you find your focus. How did you manage to keep yourself up and running? How did you manage to keep yourself motivated in a foreign country? How did you keep yourself? How did you get yourself to accept America as your destination for however long that you want to stay there and then settle down? And then you were telling me earlier that mashallah you're married, you have a 2-year-old daughter, so you're bringing up your family over there. I do want to learn a little bit about the cultural transition and your satisfaction, and what gives you, like we said, you're now a very important diaspora for Pakistan. So how do you then also plan to give back to Pakistan? Just a little bit on this, if you
Yeah.
could.
So that's a very interesting question, Hassan. And the things that I disliked earlier when I first came here, I love them, and I love them in a way that it helped me who I am as an individual and what I've been able to achieve. For example, when I first came, I think it was about midnight. I had never been outside Pakistan before. That was the first time me
That
being
was the
came,
first time you
getting
ever.
first time. Yeah, the first time I was going to. Yeah, that's it. I've never been on a plane. I've never been outside Pakistan. I traveled all around Pakistan, on road trips, but never been outside Pakistan. So I reached Chicago. That was midnight. Most flights they reach at midnight around
And
in
at night,
Chicago,
American
and then from
airports are empty. They completely deserted.
com- complete, yeah. So there was like hardly few officials over there, and then staff over there. It was very, I could see the
So you
lightning, huge
would
buildings,
expect
but I,
some hustle bustle, and
yeah,
they
pretty
all alone in an airport.
correct. Correct. So it was dark, and then I took a connecting flight from Chicago to Memphis. When I reached Memphis, it was around like 1 o'clock at night, in the morning. And then I had a bus who took me to Jonesboro, where the school was, Arkansas State University. And believe it or not, you have seen the Regent Plaza, like the height of that
Yeah.
building. The highest building in that city was of that height.
Wow.
So I was like, where the hell I am? I've heard about, so many good things. So that city, Jonesboro, is a dry county.
Hmm.
They don't sell alcohol.
Okay.
It's a very small city of around 60,000 people. Mostly old people live over there. So there's not much of attraction. So when I first started, I was like, man, this is boring. But how it helped me, because there was no distraction. I was mostly spending my time in library, spending
Right.
time with the folks who have different backgrounds, who have traveled from different countries. And because there were not many Pakistanis and like subcontinent, right now I've heard like there's a lot of subcontinent folks come in Arkansas City. But in those days, we only had like four Pakistanis. So I think what happens, like we isolate ourselves, develop our own spend much time with the American people. I didn't have too many Pakistanis, so I was spending more time with American people, people from other countries. So I learned how to please Americans. I learned how to negotiate with them. I learned how to impress them. That was the key, and it has been the key for me till now.
How important. I
So
want to just
place and location matters.
emphasize on this point that you just said that uh, uh, it didn't obviously it came to you as a shock that an instant shock. Oh, America, I thought would be Times Square everywhere, but how fortunate that is
Yeah,
for you to come to terms that hey, maybe this experience. So the the travel experience and going seeing big buildings and skyscrapers would only last for a day or two,
absolutely,
right? Or
absolutely.
maybe 10 days, or that fascination. Because even if someone who's going for the first time, they would love, like if I would go to London for the first time, I would love looking at the double decker bus. But
Yeah,
I'm not there to just look at it. I'm there to learn how to get on it and go from A to B. And
yeah,
for me
yeah.
to learn that, I need to interact with the system, and that
Yes,
system is best learned when you're in the core of this that sort of culture, right? So where you so the small town, the small city, college town, closely knitted communities, you might have experienced what I'm now imagining that you experienced the very American, very very American side of America. If that
correct.
mean, if you can translate that.
Correct. Yeah. So, yeah, I actually, not many people realize that I actually don't belong to that city because, every time I would walk to the school, go to these gas stations, pick up some drink or, gums and all that, people thought, I've been living there for many, many years and I belong to, and I'm a part of that community. Just because there's less people, you have the same people coming in every time to the gas station. So they recognize your face, and similarly, since I had my PhD done from the same school, so I almost spent like 8 years within the same work setting and location. So it was really hard for me to leave. But again, the advantage that I had, there was no distraction, and I repeat that. Uh, Having no distraction is extremely important because that keeps you focused. So you were asking like what kept me focused, because there was nothing to do. There's no clubs, there is no casinos there,
No,
there's
I call.
no attraction, no amusement park there. And well, they do have American football, they play game, they have baseball games. So I learned how to love those games as well. I understand American football. I understand baseball, how it is being played. I basically Americanized myself while still being Pakistani from the heart. And that people lack.
In Rome.
You can interview many folks, and now I'm teaching, so you can interview many folks, students from any part of the world. They might be going to engineering school, having the quality education, but they might not have the personality that you would think they should have. And
Right.
one of the reason is they just isolate themselves. Chinese community will be among Chinese.
Mm.
Indian community will be among the Indians. My first goal was to, make myself, available to all kind of communities and pick up the best points everyone would have. That was
But
the
so
best part.
one point I want to pick here was, were you at all unhappy about that you wanted to go to like a top ranked school and you didn't go there, or you wanted to be in this place or that place? Because these days there's a big challenge that students face, that they have this. So there are multiple pressures of aiming high and achieving here and getting there. So was it did it you're mashallah very successful at this point in time, and do you think had you gone to like maybe like a top 10 school, your life would have been any different? Or do you think that destiny is where it takes you? How would you put that into perspective?
Okay. So my thinking on this have been uh, and now I have a different uh, perspective to it. But at that time when I was planning for this, I I didn't have the credentials, and I realized that in terms of my GRE score was little low. Okay. My IELTS score was okay. I think it was 6.5 or 7. That was okay, but that was the GRE score was actually holding me to applying for some schools that I was initially looking for. So I knew my limits, okay, and I convinced myself that it's okay, with if even if I go to an elite school, uh,
Mm.
I still have to do the hard work.
Right.
What if I can go to some average school or a good school? I mean, like all schools, you have been in the US, most schools are pretty awesome, right? And most schools have the same similar standards, except for some, if you talk about MITs, yes, they have active classrooms, learning environment, more research focus. But for the most part, they are pretty similar, like the education
Yeah,
setting,
we're
structure,
all
curriculum. They all are a,
most
yeah.
people in most schools is what we need to talk about. I mean, having an elitist sort of a I mean, yeah, there is always those students there, but where's the majority?
Right, where's the majority? So it didn't disturb me mentally at that time when I was not being able to apply for schools which I initially wanted to. But I knew my limits. I was satisfied, and I worked hard whatever I did, and it was a great choice. Like I said, it was a great choice. I'm still happy with it. And now being part of the educational system, I know how admission works. I know how things work. Even if you go to MIT, they still have that quota system. They have to have people from different communities, regardless of whether they are, you know, uh, qualify fully to be a part of their program, but they still have to. And then a lot of positions are funded, like for example, Saudi influence, you know,
Right.
some of these rich Arab countries, they have contracts with these schools. And now, gradually, schools are waiving off all these scores, STAT or GRE, and even else they have started doing this educational programs now, like 6 month. You don't need IELTS score. You can go to these
Yeah, I
ESL
think
programs.
these standardized tests were developed um, to sort of have a comparison, apples to apples, to okay, if we
Mm,
have an American student and an international student, how do we how do we sort of compare them with their, so they should be at the same intellect at the class level. But you're absolutely right, and my firm belief is that all universities are great universities. um, where an individual is destined to be is obviously they should everybody should try hard to get them. And I went to Michigan State, and those I did not get into University of Michigan Ann Arbor, but I know that had I gone to Ann Arbor and not East Lansing, I would have had a completely different outlook. I would have made, I think that was home for me. And and having this, when you get when you get to your destination, accepting it is the biggest challenge, and it's also one of the biggest blessings. So as soon as you accept your place and you accept your position and your जगह कि जी ये मैं आ गया हूँ यहाँ पे और ये अब मेरी जगह है यहाँ पे, I need to make sure, put the hard work in and make the best out of it because I've come this far. I think that's when things really start to take off and
yeah,
things really start to happen to you on an
right.
upward trend. And
Yeah,
in due time you sort of come to realize yourself कि यार ये तो मतलब everything is going the way I would uh, want it to go, and I could sort of
yeah,
pin down कि यार ये success हो गया, ये success हो गया.
yeah, yeah.
Your
You're
experience,
absolutely right, Hassan.
go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say, you're absolutely right about it. And one thing, it depends upon like how you were raised up. So my father always used to say, whatever you do, just do the best. You should be the best in the business. Okay.
Right.
So I've done all kind of part-time jobs, from working in dining services to working in library, working in IT office, being a TA, all these kind. I used to work in such a way that my bosses would not let me. They were like, if I would call in, they would like, oh, what's gonna happen now that he's not coming in today? So I took his advice of him. Whatever I did, either small or big, I made sure I did the best I could. You have to be best, and then you are valued in America. Everybody's gonna value you if you have, you know, good work
And
ethics.
it does. It's a little intimidating that you'd be in this sort of so-called race to like get on the top. But to be honest, for Pakistanis, it's not very hard to beat. With intellect and honesty, like you could easily get ahead of a lot of people if you're just very honest and hardworking. You can just zoom by a lot of things and um, uh, you know get what you like. I do want to touch upon one point that I had raised earlier, and I kind of went with tons of questions, bombarding you with them at the same time. Was giving back to Pakistan. How do you feel that you'd be able to do that? And what do you carry yourself for Pakistan in your heart, and how do you want to give back to the community? Because there's a lot of people that do challenge the fact that मकसूद पाकिस्तान के लिए कितना जबरदस्त कर लेता है लेकिन मकसूद की कैपेसिटी जो पाकिस्तान के लिए करने के लिए है वो उसमें भी बहुत जबरदस्त कर सकता है तो you know he has all the right to live his life to the fullest and then at the same time give back to what he can. So what does Maksud plan to do, or what is on his mind? How does he plan to give back to the community?
Yeah, again, a very good question, Hassan. And a lot of people actually don't think of it. That when they get the green card and their citizenship, their passport, they don't think of how they can give back to their home country. So, like I said, it's been almost 11 years. I'm pretty much settled. What I could think of in my life, but I don't have the same peace. In my heart, and that's because I'm always thinking of like what's going on over there in Pakistan. So last couple of years I have been actually last 3 or 4 years I've been regularly visiting Pakistan, and I've been applying at these visiting professor positions, um,
Wow.
trying to get to work with some NGO for on renewable energy projects. Um, I, I do try to reach out to these uh, folks on social media, that if they can hook me with someone, I would be able to consult on, voluntarily on some of these renewable energy projects like solar panels, wind turbines, and things like that. So I'm looking for an opportunity. I don't know how to, get it to the right person, but
I think
I'm
with
trying to
right
make my mark.
intention and effort is where it starts. And I think
Yeah,
God will pave way for you to, sort of get that fulfillment sooner or later. And just having
yeah,
that mindset that you said initially, once you get the green card and once you're all settled down, a lot of people would just be all American at the end of the day. But, act like an American, be Pakistani.
yeah. Right. And also, I wanted to educate. Last year, I started my own YouTube channel, and it's available for free. I'm teaching different kind of courses related to
Oh,
electrical and computer engineering, project based. So I have received good response
and
from
share the,
most of my
I didn't
audiences
know
in
that.
fact.
Yeah, we'll put up a poster on the page for that so that anybody who wants to sort of access they could do that.
Yeah, sure. So I have nearly 1,000 subscribers right now. They are increasing, but most of the audience is from Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh. So I thought, because I've been a part of the Pakistani culture, I know what they know and what
Yeah,
all they need to know and how to explain them. So I'm trying to do it. So it's a hybrid version of American and Pakistan subcontinent way, how we are taught. So I get a very good response. So this is one way, at least I could, transfer the knowledge that I have to someone, and it's all
that's
free.
great.
I do have a Facebook page too.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So hey, do you want to touch a little bit about Corona and COVID-19? Actually, should be COVID 2020, but COVID-19
Yeah.
saw the, the 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 epidemic that's broken out. How are you sort of coping up with it? Has your job been affected by it? You're in the education sector. How are the universities treating it? Do you think that students aspiring to land in the U.S. this fall would they have challenges? How do you foresee this thing panning out?
So it's been terrible, to say the least. And I think American government took it, slightly at the beginning. They took it a little easy, and now it's haunting back on us. 3.7 million people have filed for unemployment. We already have like one round of special assistance given to the Americans. Now there's a talk about being on the second round of it. But the thing is, the small businesses have been disrupted. Um, Restaurants, those kind of stuff. A lot of people have been laid off from their jobs. So, and I think America is like number one right now in terms of the cases and the deaths now. And it's still increasing. There's a second, wave coming in. They did pull up the lockdown. So we are in phase one where we are required to maintain social distancing. If you go to any retail store, any, doctor's office, you are required to maintain 6 feet distance. They have labels on the floor saying 6 feet, wearing mask and all that. If you're not wearing a mask, a lot of stores are not letting you in.
Okay.
um, no shake hands, no hugs. We prayed Eid at home. We didn't invite any family, or nobody invited us, so we're just staying at home for the most part. It's been 2.5 months. So just trying to follow the guidelines and protocols set by CDC and American government. Yeah.
Cool. And how do you see so you're teaching, right? So how do you see your teaching evolving? Do you think that it's just a very temporary thing, and students shouldn't worry about it, even if they have to attend online classes for maybe a few
Yeah.
months, things would be back to normal and things would go back? Because as soon as somebody thinks that, oh, I'm going to be learning hybrid, I'm going to be doing a blended learning, and immediately they start to think that uh, um, it's they don't think that it's only for like maybe a few months. Maybe instantly they
Mhm.
start to think that, oh, ab to matlab 4 saal isi tarah padna padega. That's not the case, right? Or is that the case?
So what I have heard, different officials saying on American television, different channels, that this is not going away. Right now, it's gonna stay for another 12 months or so. Okay, so they have started, letting the businesses open up with some restrictions. Okay, so we just received an email last night that Masjid is going to be open, but there can only be 200 people at one time with social distancing. School went online 100% in March when this whole thing started. Summer was also declared that everything is going to be taught online. And because I work in academia, so the insights are, we have been told that fall will also be online, if not all of it, then at least part of it. Okay, so they have been asking us to uh, sign up for these workshops and prepare our courses, like basically prepare them hybrid.
Right.
So they can be taught
Choppy.
on and off, like reach for ground. So people are doing back to lab and they are doing their research.
So no. So then again, but the reassurance is that it's only temporary.
It's only temporary for now. Yeah.
And I mean, taking that temporary into account shouldn't really sort of move students away from sort of thinking that they can't pursue their education dream, or they can't. I mean, if it's reiterating the same thing over and over again, that even if there's an alternative to the teaching methodology, or the delivery method, it's all going to be temporary, because we're definitely going to come up with a vaccine. There's definitely going to be some sort of an immunity that's going to go around, and things inshallah will go back to normal very, very soon.
Yeah. Yeah, inshallah, things will start getting back to normal. Like I mentioned earlier, we are in phase one in USA. So depending upon how the cases are reported now, they're gonna make strategy for phase two. But initially, the phase two would be that they will open up recreational parks, beaches. everything, and
Yeah,
people can go there, but they were still have to maintain social distancing, which is like 6 feet apart. uh, Graduate students will be in a better shape, uh,
right,
because usually, the class strength for graduate students is usually like 16s and 20s, things
right.
like that. So they can, be in class and then still maintain social distancing.
Yeah,
For
put
undergraduate,
and things like that. That's a good.
yeah. So, but undergraduate classes will be mostly online for at least for next 6 months, because the strength of the class is usually in like hundreds. So they are sitting right next to each other. But I've heard, even if you are doing a class, you will still be required to leave 2 seats, and maintain social distancing.
Yeah, I mean that's sounds encouraging, and at the same time, it's scary. But I think things will staying optimistic is probably the only way that we're all going to get through this. And we've been in a lot of lockdown as well. I haven't stepped out of the house for a couple of months now, and it is tough. I know it's tough for everybody, but clear message to everyone who's watching. Stay
Right.
optimistic. These things come and go. I've been hearing a lot of things that they say that there's going to be a major sort of shift in learning and delivery methods, and it's going to revolutionize. Guys, I don't think that's very far fetched. Traditional education has been around for about 1,000 years. I mean, if you go back to a lot of history on a lot of the oldest institutions on
Hmm.
this planet, they're a couple of centuries old at least, right? And just there's been pandemics, there's been wars, there's been a lot of destruction and devastation during those times, and it still didn't move a lot of those systems.
Yeah.
So I hope that uh, carries on. So I've got a few questions coming in from a lot of people that are watching. I think let's start taking those questions so we do get some live feedback. Iram
Sure.
wants to know that from tell about your lifetime from being a Pakistani student to being a professor, so that we come to know how you approach to that. Um, she wants to know, how did you go on from being a student to a professor, and what sort of
It was not a big.
stamps you would put there.
Yeah. So it was not a huge transition for me because I was already in academia. I was dealing with, so if you are a PhD student, you are basically a half professor because you'll be working for him and you'll be doing half of what he's supposed to do. So it's not a huge transition.
Delivery.
Yeah, so when I was a PhD student, I was still teaching labs. I was still helping him grading the homeworks. I was still helping him uploading stuff on Canvas or Blackboard. So it was not a huge transition for me. It's just like, if you need to be a good educator, you need to be able to convey the knowledge that you have in the most effective way to the student. And because it's a very diverse community we live in, so you have to be able to deliver that information or knowledge to all kind of students.
Cool. And I also want to add that Maksud also told us about the fact that when he was doing his applications, he uh, he took the right step in the right direction, that he started to get in touch with his university and his professors. And what that did is enabled him to have a teaching assistant job before even he landed there. So as soon as he landed, he already had a teaching assistant job. So getting into the whole academia from that point onwards, was probably just a chain reaction of of the right places that he put his foot in the door. Zainab is commenting that this was super engaging and she loved the information. Thank you, Zainab. Ubaidur Rahman Shirvani says he's currently enrolled in an online course, and Zoom makes it very easy. I think we're doing this on Zoom as well. That's great insight, Ubaid. I think Zoom is when just skyrocketed. Wish everybody had bought Zoom shares two
Right.
months. So they're calling it Zoom. They're calling it
Yeah,
the
it's about $200 now.
Yeah, they're calling the social networking of the pandemic. So, essentially not just um, a
Yeah.
conversation, a video chat app. Aliha says, could you tell us if universities will take SAT into account next year or not? Because as of yet, it is postponed, and even if SAT is conducted online, the legitimacy of the scores will definitely be questioned, regardless of the invigilation methods the college board decides to take. So they want to know that how assessments would shape the future of admissibility.
Yes, so it depends upon the school. So if I can tell you for the three schools I've been associated with, Arkansas State University, Fitchburg State University, and Worcester Polytechnic Institute, they all have waived these scores, set
Oh,
scores. You're not allowed to do that. Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So so Aliyah, that's very important that this three schools that Maqsood's been associated with, and Worcester has a bit of a reputation in Karachi uh, for a lot of students applying there as well. They no longer will require SATs to
Yeah.
show.
Also, Hassan, I want to add to that. A lot of schools are offering like you can go to school and you can declare yourself like your score for that course will be as like pass or fail. That would not be counted as a GPA.
Okay.
You also have that option. Yeah.
Could you just repeat that for someone who missed it?
Yeah. So what schools are doing, like if you take a course, you have this option to choose whether you want to select your grade as pass or fail instead of getting, because it's been a transition getting from a classroom to an online learning platform. So it's been difficult for the students also. But now as they have gone through this transition, they are starting feeling comfortable now. They still just have this option because a lot of students, they have their
GPA, you can just get a pass and fail.
funding in fail. So their fundings are on their GPA. So just to make sure that they still get their funding and financial support, we are offering them to choose their grade as pass or fail, and it will not count towards their GPA.
Cool. Um, so so what you're essentially saying is that yes, the
So their funding.
pandemic will have its drawbacks, but there's also some advantages that are going to come through for the students. Um, let's move on to another comment by Obed. Was what is the role of augmented intelligence and machine learning, so AI, basically in undergraduate and graduate study programs in the US?
Yeah, so these are the hot fields. So they come under computer science department, machine learning, artificial intelligence. These are the hot fields. And also, if you are close to California or Northeast, there are some high-tech companies. Amazon is doing a lot. There are tons of robotic companies in Boston. So if you I'm not sure there's any school in US that offers undergraduate in machine learning or artificial intelligence, but there are programs who have like courses related to machine learning. So if you go to WPI, if you look at their go to computer science department and then go to see their tracking sheet, you'll see all the list, all the courses. There will be courses related to machine learning and artificial intelligence, but there's no such degree in US. If there is, I'm not aware of it. There are robotics engineering majors now,
So you
programs
do think
in
that
some
from an
states.
engineering perspective, students should have a good idea, that these disciplines are being more focused on. Ubaid, augmented intelligence, machine learning, AIs, computer science is taking a new turn for sure. Um,
Yep.
Next, Iberia has a comment. Love this session, super informative. Would love to see more of these. I have some twisties for you here, Maksud. Um, you
Sure.
know, I have a rapid fire sort of thing. I want a one word from you as soon as I say something, right? So you only have a second to think. You
Sure.
can't take
Sure.
it back. Okay? Are you
Okay.
ready?
Okay. Yeah.
Pakistan.
Heart.
Um, America.
Green.
Ah, nice. Visa interview.
Scary. That was scary. I was told Kanza, I was telling this to Kanza to Kanza. If you have time, I can share this story.
Yeah, we'll share it right at the end, 5 minutes. I want to get through these.
Okay,
The
okay.
American education system.
Good for research.
Hmm. Um, let's say Sir Mohsen,
Guru, boss.
Miss Sana,
Awesome, helpful.
helpful. Success factor.
Path to success.
Good. Nice. Thank you. Let's see. Jonesboro,
Decent, small,
small.
classy.
Arkansas State.
Food, agriculture,
Ah, cool.
vegetables, corn.
Farmers. COVID-19.
Hate it. Simply hate it.
Yeah, right. It's not a not cool. I think that sort of concludes my rapid fire. Zainab wants to know: do you think getting into universities might get hard this year for A-level students because of this pandemic? I mean, what's your opinion on this? Online education, things like that. They're just trying to figure out, what sort of changes, and also, Maksud, if you want to touch on, a concluding sort of a message when you want to give them an
Yeah,
advice who want to join this fall. Some of them are thinking of
yeah,
taking gap years. Should they or shouldn't they? Some of them are confused. Should they do online education or shouldn't they do it? So
yeah.
just touch a little bit advice on that, and then share your visa
Sure.
story.
So just to answer that question, if you think of it from an administrative point of view, school needs students. Okay, remember that they need students so that they can pay faculty their salaries, their staff, and they can pay their other bills. Okay, so they want you to, and this is a great time to get in, right? A lot of schools are actually offering some discounts too during this time. So like summer is 50% off. Okay, and I think they
Oh,
might be offering a little bit for the online courses also. So that's, you might want to look out. And again, it depends upon uh, school by school. One thing that you should know, that America is a big country and there are 50 states. Each state have their own laws. Okay, so if I say something that is restricted to Massachusetts or maybe some one school, it's not implemented everywhere. So, but I know there are a lot of schools which are offering discounts. Um, the quality or standard of the education has not gone down because we have been trained how to teach online. We are using high-tech softwares, some annotation tools. For example, say in our school, everybody was given $3,000 budget just to buy supplies. So I bought iPad and Apple Pen. So I'm annotating my lecture just like I would do in a classroom. Okay. And
right.
actually, I like it more because, I can show them like animations. Uh, it looks little classy on a, Apple Pen. I can use different colors. And so it's great. Students are loving it, enjoying it. And then thanks to these simulation softwares, the labs are being conducted virtually. The most, worrying part for us faculty was like, how are we going to do labs? How are we going to take measurements? Like we don't have power supply. So universities have bought these softwares, and then they are basically 3D. They have 3D vision. You can actually plug and play power supply in a virtual environment. So you would feel like you are actually in a lab where you were just doing it virtually. And then again, there are plenty of resources that you will be shared, and
So,
you take
so in
advantage.
a
So actually,
nutshell,
it's a
Muthu,
good
what you're
time to
saying is
come
this is
save
a
some money.
really good time to get into college. Is that what you're suggesting? This would be probably
I
uh, like the golden age for the students because the grades are lenient, the universities are accepting, the prices have gone down. A little bit of compromise on both ends might just bring everybody together. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, that is right, Hassan. And I am also teaching this summer also. So I got students from France, Pakistan, China, India, in different time zones. They are taking classes online with me, and I have made my lectures available, doing this class basically asynchronously. means all the lectures are recorded. They are uploaded on a shared drive. Students can look up those lectures, uh, based upon their availability or what time is comfortable to them. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of like online education. You're not necessarily need to be there, during the class time. Everything is recorded and uploaded. Faculty are doing more help sessions and office
Are
hours,
you
so
able,
you can get in touch
are
with
you able
them.
to conduct your assessments in a very viable and a sort of authentic fashion?
Hassan, your voice cut. Can you repeat the question again,
Saying, are
please?
you able to conduct your assessments? I know teaching can be asynchronous, but what about assessments? Are you able to cover your assessments in a very authentic and in a manner where when you get the assessments back, the grades that you award, you think that that would be that would be wouldn't be different from if they were
Right.
doing it in the classroom?
Yeah. So again, depends upon the school. The school I work for, they have outsourced a company. So if I'm doing all my exams through Canvas, okay, so they are proctoring on behalf of us. Okay, every student is required to turn their cameras on while they're doing exam, and
Oh, okay.
any suspicious activity that they would do, they would get a alert, or they're not supposed to be on the phone.
Okay, so you're actually video surveillancing the invigilation aspect. Okay, okay, that's
Correct.
interesting.
So for this course I was teaching last month, I had like 120 students. It was mandatory for them to be on the Zoom. We had outsourced a company who was proctoring, but in addition to that, I was myself. I had these two big monitors on my desk, and I was looking all of those 120 students. And then I had 6 TAs who were also helping me. So that's how we did
Wow.
it. And it's actually pretty a credible way of judging and evaluating someone. And also there software that can change the order of the questions, so they would not know exactly what they're working on or what kind of set of questions they would get.
Because you
Everybody
have
would
the
get a
back end,
different set.
shuffle things around you however you'd like him to. Huh?
Yeah, right. So if I have problem one and someone is trying to get help, some external help on problem one, but he doesn't know that problem one is different for him, and then problem one is different for her. So yeah.
Uh, cool. Great. So, any last pieces of advice? I think we've got a couple of minutes left. We'll come back to the visa story maybe sometime later. I will share your lectures on our page, and I will, if you don't mind, and then
Sure.
anybody from our student community would like to sort of come together. My father conveyed regards to you. He said,
Thank you.
and thanked Maksoods for coming on such a short notice and sort of being a part of this learning sessions. Um, what is Ghazala Ajmal Mughal? Wow, Ammi is watching. Is that your mom?
That's mom.
Hi, mom.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So
So I think the last piece of advice would be, yeah. So the last piece of advice would be to and stick to a plan.
stick to
Don't
the
go
plan.
over on board. Don't be over ambitious. And then be honest with yourself. And like I said, I whatever you do, just try to be the best in that. And therefore, knowing your strength is
Stick to the
extremely
plan. I
important.
love that. I really love that. Stick to the plan because you know
Yeah.
you got to be persistent, hardworking, and sticking to the plan. You you
Mhm.
know aim for the moon, land amongst the stars. You start
Yeah.
to see Mars and you change your direction. Pata laga Mars hai nahi. It was just an
Correct.
illusion,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Correct. So coming back to this story, so my English was like horrible when I was in this process of going to USA. So obviously we had to go through a visa interview process, and that was a scary part. So we had like mocking interviews with Mohsin sir. Oh man, I was shivering when he was asking me questions. I was like, whew, you know, getting out of breath. So he asked me like, okay, stand up, go and walk. So I was walking all around Regent Plaza and then come back, and then he did another round. So I remember we had like multiple rounds of interview, but he's like so professional in doing his job. I almost felt like, he he is the visa officer, and he is asking me those questions. But those multiple round of interview gave me so much of confidence that I just nailed my visa interview. And I was telling Kanza earlier that I was the first one. I still remember my ticket number was 13. I
Oh,
went to
wow.
the window. Yeah, I went to the window. I was the first one that day to get my visa approved. And those were the difficult times because there was a war going on, Iraq and Afghanistan. So a lot of people like, there's a very minimal chance of you getting the visa approved. But I went in very confident, uh, asked, whatever he asked, I gave my answers. And that, again, that confidence came with a lot of preparation. So thanks to Mohsen sir, and then bearing with me and helping me improve my English that time. Yeah,
Yeah, and preparation. A lot of these things are so institutionalized, and they've got this process, and they've got these, so you can really break down the process, go
right.
in
Yeah,
with a certain amount of preparation. And it's not about beating the system. Essentially, it's about creating value, creating your own value
yeah,
in front of the visa officer, so that
yeah,
he comes to terms, be like, this guy is so valuable for us. Let's just get him on board. And
yeah,
Alhamdulillah, Maksud, the professionalism that you talk of, we've had an amazing, knock on wood, visa success rate with all of our students across the board. There's hardly any rejection. I think that's part and parcel of the kind of effort that we'd like to put in for our students. Trying to get them to the level of preparation that they need to be at. There's so many times that we're arguing with the parents that, skip the date, take another date. You're not prepared, and then you've got this confidence and overconfidence and underconfidence. And no, I'm fine, I'll do it. And that kind of becomes, it feels like we're the culprits, but at the end of the day, everybody
yeah,
knows that that's what we're all aiming towards, a common good and a
yeah.
successful goal. So. Guys, here's Maksud, his story about from Pakistan to America, settled, alhamdulillah, 11 years, working in the academia field. He's a professor, hopefully a researcher, a professor. Started from a very small college town, is now just right outside of Boston. Um, the experience is not just limited to college. It's limited, it expands as you start to get into the more details of living and enjoying and sort of settling down. Thank you, Maksud, for being with us today. I really, really appreciate that, for you taking our time. We're just trying to get connected, our Success Factor community, our alumni community, with our future student community, because these times everybody has so many questions and so many confusions, and coming straight from the horse's mouth is what the best we can do as Success Factor, is to bring people on a certain platform and sort of have people just ask questions and get first-hand information. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. And thanks again, Kanza, for arranging this, and Hassan for moderating the session. Thanks again for having me. Okay. You
Thank you.
guys have a wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Ami, for watching.
All right. Bye, folks.
Bye. Take care. Bye, Maksud.